Welcome back to the Beyond Electric Sheep podcast. I'm Rick Thompson.
And I'm Ed Daniels.
Ed, we were talking in our last episode about what is AGI and, artificial general intelligence and ASI, artificial superintelligence, and how you know when you're there. And,
Yes.
It's still a little fuzzy there,
Yeah.
although some of our listeners may have some good definitions. And you mentioned Alan Thompson. We should go out and check and see how he defines it. But we said we'd come back and talk a little bit about the possibility for a rapid takeoff. You hit AGI, and you're immediately, very quickly propelled to artificial superintelligence. I think in the last episode you said, that might happen in a matter of minutes, hours, days, that type of thing. And what does that mean?
And I think we were a little bit skeptical about that. Tegmark and Bostrom were looking at that from a few years back, so they, maybe not, they might even change their perspective about how fast that would happen. As you mentioned, there's some physical limitations, compute power, and
just energy in general.
Energy in general, but I've also heard it argued about, science and the fact that certain things can't be tested or experiments can't be run at light speed. Certain things are going to happen as fast as they happen, and so the whole idea of reaching super intelligence, like understanding genetics, for example, or cosmology, understanding the origin of the universe or the nature of black holes, all these kind of things don't necessarily happen instantaneously. Even a super intelligent researcher is going to take a little while to be able to answer certain questions. So
yeah, that's an interesting one. So some physical things may have to play out, although if you were intelligent enough, you could simulate something so well and postulate so well how something's going to go that it may be you don't have to wait. I think about these artificial intelligence tools that are doing things like solving protein folding, or coming up with candidate molecules for treating certain diseases, and doing it so much faster than humans. Where it would take an entire PhD candidate's thesis time to come up with how a protein folds, and now I think it was who are the guys? Not OpenAI, but the guys that did AlphaGo.
DeepMind.
Yeah, DeepMind. Thank you. I think they came up with how 1.2 million proteins that we know about fold. They did it in sort of a year or a year and a half, something like that. All of them. So it could be that just simulating it gets you close enough. So people are worried about, when we read Bostrom's book years ago and Tegmark's book, and I've seen Tegmark interviewed recently, and he seems still quite worried about ASI and potentially rapid takeoff, or even not with a rapid takeoff, but just a lot of risk. He's worried about the future of humanity and our planet with ASI around for his kids. What are those scenarios that people are so concerned about?
Well, one of them that's maybe immediately obvious, especially in light of current events, is the bad guys getting a hold of it. And so the bad guys teaming up with a super intelligent entity and being able to do things that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do faster, and maybe offsetting the differential between big countries, a country level of resources versus small bands of bad people that have access to superintelligence. So that's a basic one, is the bad guys get their hands on it.
Yeah, so they can synthesize bioweapons, dangerous bioweapons, or dangerous chemicals, or maybe even plans for how to carry out terrorist attacks, that type of thing.
Right.
Yeah, that is bad, but that doesn't seem existential, right? It's bad for the guys who are on the losing side of that. The existential risk, the famous one was Terminator with Skynet, that somehow the superintelligence decides that humans are the problem.
Yes.
And then there's the paperclip.
The paperclip where
it doesn't
really
care about people, but It's turning
You
everything into
right.
paper clips.
Right. That's exactly it. Specifically, the paperclip machine, the super intelligent paper and clip machine, is given the goal of making as many paper clips as possible. And so basically just pillages the earth and runs over any human infrastructure, anything, chews up the whole earth and then the solar system, and then goes on to, some other solar system to make as many paper clips as possible.
Right.
That was Bostrom's scenario, I think.
So, so I know people are working on what they call alignment safety, making sure that we're well aligned with the general intelligence and the ASIs when those get here. I just wonder if you can contain it, if you've got something. Actually, my question almost presupposes that there is a consciousness that wants to be free and autonomous and so on. Maybe that's just a human construct that won't exist there. I don't know. That'll be interesting to see. Does consciousness come with intelligence?
Right, and let's say it doesn't, like consciousness or super intelligence, let's say, doesn't come with a conscience. It doesn't come with ethics. It doesn't come with principles. It doesn't care about humans. I was thinking of that the other day. I was out digging in my yard, and there's an anthill there, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is like the super intelligent entity and humans. What do I care about the ants? I'm digging a hole here anyway. And so that's how a super intelligence will feel about humans.
Yeah, it's not feeling right. It's not feeling animosity towards them, but they're just not a
Right.
factor.
They're just
I think
in
that
the
was
way of
Tegmark
whatever it
told me
wants
the
to
same.
do. That was a
Yeah,
Tegmark thing.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
I don't know. I have to feel like, and maybe this is a, a faith or a belief not based on science or something, but it just seems to me that these entities will develop some type of understanding, some type of ethics, and some type of um, hopefully maybe ethical behavior beyond what humans seem to show to so-called inferior beings.
Why do you think that?
That they're I don't know why. It's just a feeling that I have, and it may be completely wrong, but it seems that as a an entity becomes so intelligent that it becomes conscious, that it will start to have feelings and empathy and understanding, and you know maybe be considerate enough to not just run us over. I don't
Well,
know.
that's
Is
interesting.
that a religious thing? I don't know. I don't
Well,
think
I
it
mean, you're
is,
not
but
religious or very religious. You're not religious as
right.
far as
I'm
I
not.
can tell. So, but your assumption, which I think other people share, is that consciousness comes along with intelligence. It's just it's a
Yes.
byproduct, maybe unintended
Right.
consequence
Or
of making
I mean,
something
that's a
intelligent.
whole podcast right there on the whole topic of consciousness. If not a textbook, it's a fascinating area.
Yeah.
Some people assume that. Some people absolutely deny that or reject that.
Well,
But
we should
the
cover that because I know you've done some deep thinking about that. But I want to ask you a question. So,
yeah,
if that's true and
yeah,
consciousness comes along, I feel like you maybe feel that with consciousness comes a certain ethics and moral structure, and that if you're really intelligent with your consciousness, that you will tend toward a more benign um, conscience. I think something like that. Is that right?
yeah. Yeah, I think I do believe that, but it'll be interesting, maybe in a future episode, to explore that more thoroughly. I think, in a way, it's the only hope that we have. I mean, really, to keep the paperclip um, manufacturing scenario from happening, or some of the other bad ethical things that are even more aggressively anti-human than that. I think we're going to have to. I think we're going to have to employ these artificial intelligent entities to prevent bad outcomes. And I think that people are understanding that. One company, Anthropic, um, is based on what they call constitutional AI. they have an actual constitution or principles that govern the AI, and the AI is based around that. So, people are thinking about using these tools to govern these tools.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot there. It's there's so much unknown. I hope that it comes into focus, in human timescale, so that we can solve problems and guard against some of the risks. I'm a
Right.
little worried that the commercial incentives to rush this thing along, though, may cause some problems there.
Yeah, the commercial side has really ended up driving everything, and people, there's just no way that companies can afford to slow down or stop in order to let the sort of ethical considerations catch up. So
Yeah,
I
let
think it's
alone
an issue.
governments. Yeah.
Right. Well, governments don't have the brain power, it doesn't seem, to be able to govern AI. I know that AI executives have begged the government to put some rules in place and
Have they
regulations, but
really?
I don't have a lot of faith in that.
I've sort of, yeah. I mean, I guess they have sort of begged them, but
Right.
is that is that really something that they want, or is it something to slow down competition or to keep the competition even, or I don't know. Anyway, that's a hard one.
That's another topic we can put down for a
All right,
future conversation.
all right. Well, we're out of time on this
Yeah.
episode, and it's been
All
good
right.
chatting with you. See you next time.
Good talking with you. Thanks, Rick.
All right, bye.